I never thought an innocent game with my sister would tear my family apart, until the night my mother caught us. The house was quiet. Too quiet. Just the two of us home like so many nights before. Kay and I had always been close, the kind of close that comes from growing up side by side, from knowing each other better than anyone else. But that night was different. The moment the door swung open, I knew. The look on my mother's face said everything. The shock, the disbelief, the slow realization as she pieced together what she was seeing. Her breath hitched. Her hands trembled at her sides. For a second, she didn't move, didn't speak. Then, she whispered my name, low, shaking, like she didn't recognize me anymore. And that's when I knew there was no going back. Before we begin, I want to warn you, this story contains mature themes. It deals with betrayal, power, and choices that can never be undone. If these topics make you uncomfortable, you might want to stop watching now. The driveway was empty when I pulled in after a long day at school. The sky was beginning to darken, and the warm early summer breeze brushed against my skin as I stepped out of the car. It felt good to finally be home after hours of studying. I walked to the front door, my heavy bag resting on my shoulder, and turned the knob. It was unlocked, so I stepped inside. I slid my car keys onto the hanger near the door and headed upstairs, passing through the quiet and empty living room. The house was unusually still, which only added to my exhaustion. Just as I was about to enter my room, the bathroom door swung open, and my younger sister, Kay, walked out, wrapped in a towel, her blonde hair still damp. Well, technically, she wasn't my biological sister. She was my stepsister, but that had never really mattered to us. I was just a baby when my mother passed away, so I had no memories of her. She left behind my father, my older brother Sterling, who was 4 years older than me, and me, Ray. My father remarried when I was about 3 years old. He met Violet, a 23-year-old single mother with a 2-year-old daughter named Kelsey. Her first husband was never in the picture, at least as far as I knew. Even though my family had experienced loss, I still grew up in a happy home. Violet treated me like her own son, and I saw her as my mother. As for Kay, she was my sister in every way that mattered. We argued, played, and annoyed each other like most siblings do, but we always had a strong bond. Now, 16 years later, I was finishing my first year of college while still living at home with my parents and sister. If things went as planned, I'd be able to move into my place next year, assuming I saved enough money during the summer. Kay, on the other hand, was wrapping up her senior year of high school and preparing for college. "Hey, bro," she said casually as she stepped out of the bathroom. "How was school?" I caught the familiar scent of her coconut shampoo as I glanced at her. "It was okay," I answered, my tone neutral. "Where's Mom and Dad?" "Mom took Dad to the airport," she replied. "He has a conference somewhere." "Right," I mumbled, nodding. With that, I continued toward my room, my mind already shifting to the long evening ahead. Once inside, I dropped my bag, kicked off my shoes, and made my way to the bathroom. The day had drained me, and all I wanted was a warm shower before crashing into bed. I turned on the hot water and slowly undressed, tossing my clothes into the laundry chute, a convenient feature that sent them straight to the laundry room downstairs. For a moment, I stood in front of the mirror, taking in my reflection. My workouts had paid off. I had built a strong, toned body over the years. Fitness had become my way of maintaining control in an unpredictable world. As the steam from the shower filled the bathroom, I stepped in, letting the warm water relax my tense muscles. My mind wandered to everything I needed to do. Work, assignments, saving for an apartment, but for now, I let myself enjoy the quiet moment, washing away the weight of the day. After rinsing off, I shut off the water and reached for my towel. My hand grabbed at nothing. Confused, I opened my eyes and glanced at the rack, empty. I sighed, figuring Mom had tossed all the used towels into the wash. Still dripping, I made my way to the bathroom closet where we kept the clean ones. But when I pulled the door open, I was met with nothing. Not a single towel in sight, not even a tiny hand towel to dry off with. I let out a frustrated breath and ran a hand through my wet hair. There wasn't much I could do. My only option was to walk straight to my room and dry off there. Shivering from the cool air, I cracked open the bathroom door and stepped into the hallway. Just my luck, right as I was halfway to my room, Kay's door swung open. She stepped out, toweling her damp hair, dressed in pink shorts and a white crop top that was a size too small, barely reaching her navel. She froze the second she saw me standing there, completely naked. Her gaze moved from my wet hair to my chest, then lower. I cleared my throat. There were no towels in the bathroom, I said, trying to explain. My voice came out awkward, apologetic. But she didn't move. She was standing right in my way, staring like her brain had short-circuited. I kept walking, expecting her to step aside. She didn't. Can I get to my room, please? I finally asked, my tone firmer. That seemed to snap her out of whatever daze she was in. She quickly shifted to the side, her face burning red. I didn't say anything else, just walked past her and shut my bedroom door behind me. I exhaled. Well, that was awkward. Shaking it off, I grabbed some clothes and got dressed. By the time I stepped back into the hallway, Kay's door was closed. I didn't see her again that night. I finished my nighttime routine, brushing my teeth before collapsing into bed. Sleep hit me almost immediately. The next morning, I woke up feeling refreshed and headed downstairs to the kitchen. Mom Violet was at the stove making breakfast. Now, I didn't particularly like using the word, but if I had to describe Violet in one, it would be ageless. She was 39 but looked at least a decade younger. A personal fitness trainer and yoga instructor, she had the toned, athletic body to match. Her blonde hair was tied back in a high ponytail, the K shade as K's. She had her back turned when I walked in, dressed in a sports bra and fitted leggings, her usual post-run outfit. "Morning, Mom," I said, stepping inside. She turned with a smile. "Good morning, honey." I could tell she had just gotten back from jogging, the slight sheen of sweat still on her skin. She turned back to the stove, flipping whatever she was cooking. "Did you sleep well?" she asked over her shoulder. "I did," I said, grabbing a glass of water. "How was your run?" The morning started as usual, with breakfast being prepared in the kitchen. As I set the table, my sister, Kay, walked in, dressed differently than she normally would. She wore noticeably short jean shorts and a thin tank top without any additional layers. It was hard not to notice the change, but my mother made no comment. We sat down to eat, engaging in our usual table conversations. Still, a lingering thought crossed my mind. Was this sudden change in Kay's choice of clothing related to what had happened the night before? I wasn't sure, but something about her demeanor seemed slightly different. The rest of the day went by uneventfully. I spent most of my time studying in my room. Every time I saw Kay, she was still wearing the Kay outfit, but beyond that, nothing seemed out of place. My mother went about her usual routine, and there was no acknowledgement of anything being unusual. The next day, my mother was out for most of it, so I simply grabbed something to eat and stayed in my room. Later in the evening, I had plans to meet some friends, so I started getting ready. Just as I was about to take a shower, I realized Kay had beaten me to it. I waited for a while before knocking on the door. "Kay, I'm in a hurry. Can you finish up?" "I'll be right out," she responded. I returned to my room and laid out my clothes when I heard the water shut off, followed by the sound of the bathroom door opening. Stepping out of my room, I was caught off guard by what I saw. Kay walking out of the bathroom without her usual caution. She carried herself with an air of nonchalance, but something about the way she moved felt intentional, almost as if she was testing boundaries. She walked past me without a word, her face unreadable. It was a brief but unexpected moment, one that left me with more questions than answers. Was this some kind of silent message? A reaction to the previous night? I couldn't quite figure it out. Rather than dwelling on it, I continued to the shower, letting the warm water wash away my thoughts. But even as I got ready for the evening, the encounter replayed in my mind. It wasn't just about what happened, it was about what it meant. Over the following days, a strange pattern emerged. These fleeting moments of unspoken tension seemed to repeat. There was never a direct conversation about it, no acknowledgement of anything unusual, yet an unspoken game had begun to take shape. A shift in dynamics, subtle but undeniable. It left me contemplating human behavior, how actions could speak louder than words, and how people sometimes communicate in ways they don't even fully understand. Was this about pushing boundaries, seeking attention, or something deeper, like unresolved emotions or unspoken conflicts? Whatever it was, it made me more aware of the complexity of human interactions, how people express things without saying them outright, and how understanding those silent messages is often more challenging than words themselves. For the first few times, our routine remained the K. Our parents were out and Kay would take the shower first. I would follow and we'd exchange fleeting, unspoken moments of acknowledgement. But on the 5th or 6th day, something changed. That morning, my mother was home. I wondered if Kay would still continue her usual behavior. The moment I heard the bathroom door open, I instinctively glanced toward her, expecting something different. But she remained consistent, carrying herself with the K air of silent confidence as she walked to her room. It was my turn next. Standing in the bathroom, I debated whether I should follow through with our unspoken game. I pressed my ear to the door. Silence. Mom was on the lower floor, far from this hallway. With my heart racing, I stepped toward my room, catching a glimpse of Kay watching from her doorway. The game continued. First 1 week, then 2. Even with our parents home, neither of us changed our behavior, making it all the more intense. It was an unspoken challenge, a test of boundaries. But then something unexpected happened. One evening, I was in the shower when I thought I heard a knock. Dismissing it, I continued as usual. When I stepped out expecting Kay to be standing there, she wasn't. Instead, as I turned toward my room, my mother appeared in the hallway, laundry basket in hand. She stopped mid-step, her eyes widening as she took in the sight before her. "What are you doing, Ray?" she blurted out. I hesitated, trying to maintain composure. "Just finished showering," I replied casually, though my mind raced. "And?" she pressed, her voice laced with confusion. "I'm heading to my room to get dressed." She frowned. "But why like this?" Scrambling for an answer, I blurted, "It's just more convenient. Instead of wearing a towel, getting dressed, then bringing it back, I just go straight to my room." She studied me for a moment, as if debating whether to challenge my logic. Then finally she sighed. "It's just not something you've ever done before. Not exactly common, either. But if you're comfortable, I guess it's your choice." I nodded quickly, escaping into my room before she could say anything else. I felt my face burn with embarrassment. From that day on, things became even more complicated. My mother caught me twice more, each time saying little but observing me with quiet curiosity. The second time was the worst. I had assumed she was downstairs, as she usually was, and hadn't expected her to be anywhere near my room. When I stepped out of the bathroom, I found her sitting on my bed, laptop on her lap. Her expression shifted from neutral to something unreadable as she looked up. A thick silence filled the room. "Ray, I need your help with something," she said after a pause, her voice steady. For the first time since this whole situation had begun, I felt a distinct shift in the atmosphere. I quickly dressed and sat beside her, though I couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed. As I helped her with her computer issue, I became increasingly aware of her occasional glances in my direction. My mind swirled with confusion. Was she suspicious? Was she testing me? I had no idea. Just as she got up to leave, we both heard the bathroom door open. My mother turned toward the hallway, her expression instantly hardening. "Kelsey, what in the world do you think you're doing?" she snapped. And just like that, everything shifted. The first few times we played this silent game, our parents were out of the house. It started as a passing moment, a subtle test of boundaries, but over time, it became something else. By the 5th or 6th day, however, things took an unexpected turn. Our mother was home. Kay went first, just as always, stepping out of the bathroom with a confidence that made my breath hitch. I listened carefully, my heart pounding, and the moment I heard the bathroom door creak open, I cracked my own door just enough to watch. She carried herself the Kay way she always did, but this time it felt different. The air was heavier. The risk was real. Then it was my turn. As the water pounded against my skin, I thought about what I was about to do. I listened, silence. My mother was downstairs, far removed from our world up here. Or so I thought. Without much hesitation, I stepped out, moving swiftly toward my room, only to feel a presence. My breath caught in my throat. I turned, and there she was, my mother, standing in the hallway, laundry basket in hand, eyes locked onto mine. "What do you think you're doing, Ray?" she asked, her voice laced with confusion and something I couldn't quite place. A storm of thoughts crashed in my mind, but I kept my expression neutral. "I just finished showering." My voice was steady, but inside, panic clawed at me. "And?" she pressed, her gaze unwavering. "And I was just heading to my room," I replied, grasping at any semblance of composure. She hesitated. "This isn't something you've done before." I exhaled slowly. "It's just more convenient this way." She studied me for a long moment, then sighed, shaking her head. "All right, just Do whatever makes you comfortable. With that, she turned and walked away. I barely made it to my room before I let out a sharp breath. My hands were trembling. I had never been caught before. And yet, the game continued. The next time it happened, she barely reacted at all. She only observed. Each time after that, it became easier, almost like she was expecting it. Like it didn't matter. Then, one evening, something changed. I had been searching for a book I needed for school. Frustrated, I made my way to my parents' bedroom, calling out to my mother. "Hey, Mom, do you know where that book is?" Her voice came from the adjoining bathroom. "I can't hear you, sweetheart. Come in." I stepped inside, expecting her to be behind the door, maybe rummaging through a cabinet. Instead, she emerged from the bathroom in a cloud of steam, moving with an ease that sent a strange chill through me. She didn't react. She didn't seem startled. She just looked at me, expectant. "Did you hear me?" she asked. I swallowed hard. "Yeah. Thanks, Mom." She gave me a small nod, then moved past me as if nothing unusual had happened. But something was different. I could feel it. The boundaries that once existed had shifted, blurred beyond recognition. And that night, the game itself changed. I was standing near the entrance of my sister's room, waiting for her to finish in the bathroom. The door swung open, and she stepped out as usual, her expression unreadable. But this time, something came over me, something reckless. As she walked past me, I reached out, just a small motion, just enough to make contact. She froze. I froze. A moment passed, thick with something unspoken. Then, without a word, she turned and disappeared into her room. I barely made it into the bathroom before my pulse erupted. I gripped the sink, staring at my reflection, trying to make sense of what had just happened. That was the moment I knew that this wasn't just a game anymore. This was something else entirely. "Babe, do you want something to drink from the kitchen? I'm going to get some water." I heard my mom say to my dad. "No thanks, hon," I heard my father answer. "But aren't you going to put something on?" he asked. "No, I'm just going to the kitchen for a sec," she answered. "But what if one of the kids comes down?" my father continued. "Who cares?" she answered. The night my mother caught us changed everything. There was no way to undo what had happened. No way to erase the look on her face, the disappointment in her eyes. At first, there was silence. A heavy, suffocating silence that filled the house. No one spoke about it. No one acknowledged it. But the weight of it was unbearable. I could feel the shift in the air. My mother, once warm and loving, now kept her distance, her eyes filled with something I couldn't name. My sister and I? We barely spoke. It was as if we had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed, and now we were stuck on the other side, trapped in the wreckage of our choices. Guilt became my shadow. I could see it in my sister, too, the way she avoided my gaze, the way she flinched at the sound of our mother's voice. It wasn't just about what we had done, it was about what it meant. About how it had changed everything we thought we understood about ourselves, about family, about love and boundaries. I found myself questioning everything. Why had we let it happen? Was it just curiosity? A twisted sense of rebellion? Or something deeper, an emotional need neither of us fully understood? I tried to move on, to act like nothing had happened. But my mother's eyes told me otherwise. One day, she finally broke the silence. Her voice was calm, too calm. "I don't recognize you anymore," she said. Those words hit harder than any punishment. It was in that moment I realized that some betrayals aren't just about actions. Some betrayals are about trust, about shattering the image someone has of you, about becoming a stranger to the people who once knew you best. My father didn't answer as far as I heard, but I wouldn't push too much if I were in his place. "I don't see any point in complaining about your beautiful wife wanting to walk around without clothes." I tried to look like I hadn't been eavesdropping and walked to the kitchen after hearing my stepmother's footsteps. I entered the kitchen and was greeted by a view of my mom while pouring herself water. She turned around when she heard me step in the kitchen and smiled her usual smile at me, not saying a word and giving me a great sight of her lovely body, more wild than the previous time I saw her without clothes. I took a glass, poured myself some water, and drank in silence, stealing glances at her before putting the glass in the sink and climbing back upstairs without saying a word. Kay and I continued our unspoken game. The sight of my stepmom every couple days, in addition to the daily viewing of my sister, made me horny all the time. I'm pretty sure it affected Kay too, and the new touching rule we added got bolder as we got more comfortable with each other. At the start, we would only touch the other lightly, but it increased gradually. Kay would now squeeze my peaches and play with my bell hangers, which I would get up for her enthusiastically. I, in response, fondled her cherries. One day, as Kay was walking out of the shower awaiting her daily treat, I held out my middle finger, and just as she stood beside me, we did something intense. After, I kept standing in the hot water trying to calm myself from what I just did to my stepsister. I knew what we did until now was naughty and wrong. Still, after getting this little taste of her, I had to get more. The shower started turning cold. I turned it off and dried myself, thoughts of Kay still running around my mind. I stepped out of the bathroom, and just as I did, I heard footsteps climbing up the stairs. After a second, I saw my stepmother carrying a stack of clean sheets that seemed to block her vision of me. She got to the top of the stairs and placed them in a closet in the hallway. Just then, she noticed me. We were both as bare as the day we were born. My mother looked back, focusing on my big cucumber as it grew to its full length from the view of her body. She seemed shocked that her body could put me in that mood, switching her gaze between my eyes and my thing. This was too much for me, and I just lost it. I grabbed her by the shoulder and waist and pushed her against the wall. "Ray, what are you doing?" she said, alarmed but without showing any physical resistance. "No, Ray, don't," she said, but later surrendered to me completely. My sister closed the gap between us in a few quick steps and was standing inches away from her mother and me. Then, without saying a word, she took my hand from her mother's shoulder and guided it with both hands towards her. I stood there feeling like a god working my magic till they both let out a groan. "Come on," said my sister, whispered, regaining her senses. She held us by the arm and pulled us through the nearest bedroom door to her room. In the days that followed, the atmosphere in our home changed irreversibly. The once familiar comfort was replaced by a heavy, unyielding silence, a silence that spoke volumes of the unspoken pain and remorse each of us carried. Every creak in the floor and every quiet moment felt charged with the weight of that fateful night. I found myself grappling with a tumult of emotions, guilt, confusion, and an overwhelming sense of loss. What had started as a reckless test of boundaries had evolved into a breach of trust that shattered the very foundation of our family. The incident forced me to confront not only the choices I had made but also the deep-seated questions about desire, self-control, and the impact of crossing lines that should never be blurred. In the weeks that followed, I began a journey of introspection. I sought professional guidance, hoping to understand the roots of my actions and the psychological forces that had driven me to make such irreversible decisions. Therapy became a lifeline, a space where I could slowly untangle the complex web of regret and begin to rebuild a sense of self. I learned that our actions carry consequences far beyond the immediate moment, echoing through our minds and hearts in ways that can disrupt every aspect of our lives. Kay, too, struggled silently. The playful innocence we once shared had been replaced by an uneasy distance and unspoken sorrow. I could sense that she was fighting her own inner battle, a struggle to reconcile the person she thought she was with the weight of our shared transgression. Our interactions, once light and carefree, now carried a heaviness that neither of us could easily dismiss. In time, she, like me, began to seek help, recognizing that healing required confronting the pain rather than burying it. Our mother's reaction was perhaps the most painful of all. The nurturing, protective figure we once admired had become a mirror reflecting our broken trust. Her disappointed eyes and quiet withdrawal spoke of a hurt so deep that it reshaped the contours of our family forever. The warmth and acceptance that once filled our home had given way to a cautious distance, a silent testament to the trust that had been lost. This experience, as devastating as it was, forced me to learn a harsh and invaluable lesson that clear boundaries are not just social constructs but essential pillars of trust and respect in any relationship. The events of that night and the ensuing fallout became a powerful reminder of how easily those pillars can crumble when we stray from the values that define us. Reflecting on everything, I now see the importance of self-awareness and accountability. It became painfully clear that no matter how complicated our emotions might be, seeking validation through actions that violate deeply held moral boundaries only leads to irreversible harm. The journey toward healing is neither quick nor linear. It requires courage, honesty, and the willingness to face the darkest parts of oneself. For anyone who finds themselves entangled in emotional turmoil or confronting the consequences of their actions, remember that recovery is possible. Professional help, open communication, and a commitment to self-growth can gradually mend even the most shattered pieces of trust. Our story serves as a cautionary tale, a difficult but necessary lesson in the vital importance of respecting boundaries, understanding the true nature of our impulses, and the lifelong commitment required to repair what has been broken. In the end, the path to healing began with accepting responsibility and reaching out for help, a reminder that even in our darkest moments, there is hope for redemption and renewal.